Good afternoon on a Tuesday, and we are up into the 80s at this hour as we thought we would be. I don't have any big changes to the forecast since the last time we talked, but I do have some tweaks, mainly to temperatures and some growing confidence in other areas. And we'll take a look at the July outlook from NOAA and the National Weather Service. Anyway, I'm meteorologist Rod Hill on this Tuesday, coming to you from my home up in Vancouver, Washington. So on the left, this is tomorrow. And what you're looking at here is a weather model showing in white expected cloud cover, and the percentage of cloud cover are the numbers. Look at the 100% opaque, so completely overcast skies, basically from Seattle down I-5 all the way into Eugene and also at the coast. And it looks like the solid push of morning cloudiness or marine clouds coming in Wednesday, first thing in the morning, may not break all day. So that's going to hold temperatures down, and we will have at least a chance of some patchy moisture falling from those clouds. So more on that coming up. On the right, 90s next week. Growing confidence that we could have 90-degree temperatures for 1 or 2 days to start next week, including on Monday, which will be, I believe, the final day of June, June 30th. And you can see on this air mass 850 millibar, 5,000 foot temperature map, the brick color, the deep red, that's certainly settling over Oregon and Washington. Of course, the big story today nationally is the heat wave with the humidity and the 100-degree temperatures out across the east, especially the East Coast itself. Okay, so I'll be getting into all of that, and all of this, as always, is brought to you by the Momentous Wealth Podcast. Listen on Apple Podcast, listen on Spotify, choose from a variety of investment topics. Brought to you by Momentous Wealth Management, a local financial advisory firm licensed in Oregon and Washington. Again, the Momentous Wealth Podcast. Thank you very much for that. Okay, let's get you going with what is going on. And we just looked at that and let's move on. Okay, here's the coast. So, what we've been seeing today is, if you remember this morning, much of the valley was actually blue. Now we're getting increasing milky cloudiness, increasing clouds this afternoon as we expected. Now it's been cloudy all day along the coast. There's Tillamook Head, the bottom of, from the camera at Gerhardt by the Sea Resort looking down towards Seaside. Here's Depot Bay. It's been like this all day. And there's the Inn at Ottercrest down in Lincoln County as well, looking cloudy all day. You folks at the beach may not see any sun until we get developing sunshine coming in on Friday. So a pretty good little fetch of solid cloudiness is at least possible for you. Great picture from the visible satellite picture. So a couple of things we're noting. So watch my cursor. Here's Portland, right? Okay. Here's the coastline. You can see the cloudiness right along the coast and sneaking inland in some of the lower gaps of the coast range. And then if you look carefully, you can tell this is kind of high, thin, sheared off cloudiness, the milky veil that now extends across much of the I-5 corridor and pushing up into the Cascades. That's that milky sky of the increasing clouds that we're getting here in the valley. I think we're still going to warm up a little bit through 5 o'clock. And then you've got more in the way of just sunshine as you head out east. Now, for tomorrow, we're going to be looking at that push of morning marine clouds. If you look at a surface map with the infrared satellite picture, there's not much going on. Again, here we are up here in Portland. There's Oregon, there's Washington. These are the clouds spilling in. There's actually kind of a weak frontal push that comes in during the day tomorrow. We get the low clouds. They don't really break. And then all of this back here, none of it looks impressive and none of it is. But it's kind of a zonal flow pattern with weak troughing. I talked about this the other day, all the way through Friday. So it's going to keep temperatures down, although I think Friday is the day that we develop sun and we'll start to warm back up. But there's nothing of note out here, overly speaking. Okay, courtesy of KGW TV, their Futurecast model, this is going to focus on the low cloud cover that we are getting. So let me just play this in motion. Here's 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. Look at all of the solid clouds here on the west side. Here's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. They don't really break much. And these clouds are going to continue into Thursday. And notice is some green here and there. So that's the modeling saying not only do we have these clouds more than not through Thursday, but Wednesday and Thursday, either one or both, could see some specks of at least patchy light moisture falling out of the cloud deck. In these situations, the chance is always better at the coast, a little less so in the valley. When I look at the modeling, the depth of the low-level moisture coming in doesn't overly look impressive. So I'll be surprised if we just have widespread measurable light rain, but we might have some patchy light stuff tomorrow. We could again on Thursday, and we may get some sun breaks, but it's certainly possible that much of the next 2 days west of the Cascades, Oregon and Washington, will be cloudy. Again, that's courtesy of KGW TV and their Futurecast model. Here's the European. We'll look at the overall flow pattern. A couple things to point out here. So here we are this afternoon. And even though it's really nice, you can see it's kind of a zonal flow pattern. We're into the 80s, which, with sun around 80 is normal for this time of the year. Now, here's tomorrow morning. See a little trough? This is getting into tomorrow afternoon. That's that little slight wave of cooler weather coming in that's kind of driving the low marine push. And then as we take this into Thursday, this low that's up in the Gulf of Alaska kind of actually defines this cool trough. So a 2 day period of low clouds, not much of any sun here on the west side, maybe some patchy light moisture. And if we don't get the sun, both days will only be in the 60s. I'm sure you've surmised that already. Now, Friday during the day, you're going to see the troughing pull out. There it goes. Now, see, it's kind of pulling out. We get developing sun. We'll warm up into the 70s. And then comes the weekend. Sunny skies, warming heights. This is 85. That's a 583 pressure height Saturday afternoon along the Columbia River. That's certainly getting up into the 80s with sunny skies. That's a higher pressure height and a warmer potential than what we're seeing on this Tuesday. And this Tuesday is going to be low to mid 80s. So that gives you an idea. Um, and then if I play this into, we get warmer on Sunday. I'm going to play this into Monday. A couple of things I want to know. Number one, there's a big high over the four corners. There's Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona. There's a 591 high out here in the Pacific. Now there's ridging off of this four corner side that extends up through Idaho and Montana. We are expected to be kind of on the back edge of this heat. I wouldn't say it's a definite that we're going to be up into the 90s in Portland, Salem, and Vancouver Monday and Tuesday of next week, but there's a better than 50% chance. And I just point out we're not right in the middle of the ridge inland. We're not in the middle of the ridge out to sea, but we could be caught up in the warmer air mass and we would warm into the 90s. So we'll keep an eye on that. Here is Tuesday, July 1st. Still pretty warm, not in the middle of any ridging. Now we're getting into, this is Thursday, July 3rd. Still looking at a 591 high offshore. This could potentially be temperatures around 90 degrees because that's 570, that's a 585 height. So much of next week looks to be warm, well up into the 80s slash or 90-degree temperatures. Okay. So what about July 4th? This is interesting. Here's Friday, July 4th. Very weak cutoff low approaching in the morning, pushing up toward us in the afternoon. So if this is accompanied with enough moisture, and it wouldn't be accompanied with much of a, the fact that it's cut off means there's not going to be like a plentiful flow of moisture with the system, but it will provide instability. And right now, if you just look at that and nothing else, you would assume that on Friday, July 4th, there's at least a chance of partly sunny skies with scattered showers. And maybe instability enough that there could be a thunder boomer or a scattered downpour. Long ways out yet, kind of what we're looking at. Then we get past July 4th. Well, that kind of lingers. That, in fact, that's Saturday the 5th. And then that's just moving off on Sunday the 6th. So I don't know how else to phrase this, but if you have outdoor plans, there is reason for concern that we could see some showers over July 4th weekend. We'll keep following that. Once the weekend gets over and everybody goes back to work, what happens? Well, we start getting into some ridging out here in the Pacific that starts to come in. Okay. Here is what this just came out June 19th, so last Thursday. This is NOAA's outlook for July. And notice all of the West is in the above normal temperature department. Remember that one model I showed you, the ridging was more over the four corners of Utah and Colorado and Arizona, New Mexico. Well, this shows the bullseye of the heat, Salt Lake City up in Idaho. And we're kind of on the back side of it for the month of July. That would produce a fair share of 90-degree temperatures, not much precip. So if you look at some of the other modeling that gives you 12 to 24-hour windows day by day by day, you come to the conclusion that we could certainly do a run of some heat once or twice next month and rack up a quick 90-degree temperature days or hotter. Remember, the summer outlook was June wasn't going to be bad. July and August would be extreme, not extreme, but hot. And we would see no fewer than 22 90 plus degree days for the summer season through September. So if we get 10 in July and August looks hot too, oh, there you go. We're on track to do that. Okay. Let's go around the horn. I hope that gives you an idea what to expect with the cool down and the low clouds tomorrow and Thursday, and then the warm up into the weekend and maybe some 90s to start next week. And speaking of 90s, 91 in Bend, these are 4 p.m. temps. Yakima, the Dalles, Pendleton, Bend, Medford, all at 90 degrees. Not as warm down in Southern Oregon tomorrow or Thursday, but sunny. Back up to 90 on Friday, 94 Saturday, and there's some hot weather, 98, 98, 96 to start next week. Okay. Pendleton, a little cool down the next couple of days, and then starting to warm up by Sunday, 92, and then 98, 98 Monday, Tuesday. Okay. Pretty similar pattern to what we looked at down in Medford. And I think Bend, cooling down the next several days, warming up on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Yeah, very, very familiar theme here. You go up to Seattle, now we're going to get into some shower chances. We're on the west side of the state. We're getting the marine air push. So this definitely shows that we've got clouds Wednesday and Thursday. Reasonable chance of some light precip out of those clouds. Becoming partly sunny Friday, warming up over the weekend. 82 on Monday. Very comfortable weather, though, no matter how you slice it, right? Here's Salem. 83 this afternoon. Well, this shows 74 Wednesday and Thursday, but here's the catch, and I know you know this. If we get low clouds and they don't break, temperatures will not make it to 70. They'll stay in the 60s. Now, if you're in the mid to southern Willamette Valley tomorrow or Thursday and the clouds do break for you in the afternoon and you get some reasonable daytime heating, you will warm up into the 70s, okay? And don't forget there could be some patchy moisture with all that. Warming into the weekend, 88 Sunday, 90 on Monday. Okay, that's Salem. Eugene, I think, is going to be very much the same. Yeah, very much the same. Okay. North Bend, let's see here, 62. Thursday, chance of some moisture. Fog on Wednesday. Generally, temperatures on a dry weekend with some sunshine Saturday and Sunday. Okay, that's pretty nice. All right, again, you can click on these current temperature maps for regional forecast. Those are all auto feeds from NOAA on my weather site, portlandweather.com. That's my Northwest City forecast page. And here is, courtesy of Hazeldale Tire Pros, my 7-day forecast. Hazeldale Tire Pros up here in Clark County, Vancouver, off of the I-5 side. 83 to 85 this afternoon. We're seeing the increasing kind of high thin clouds. I think odds favor that Portland stays cloudy most of the time on Wednesday and Thursday. And that's why I've dropped temperatures down to the mid 60s each day for highs. Could be some patchy traces of rain. Could be some morning cloudiness Friday, but becoming partly cloudy or increasing sun and at least getting up into the 70s. And then we go 84 Saturday. You know, Sunday, I'm looking at Sunday could hit 90. I've got 87 right now. We'll keep an eye on that. And then Monday up into the 90s and could be warmer than 93. And right now I've got 90 on that following Tuesday, which would be the first day of July. Okay. I've got 91. That is your update. Hey, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It helps me out. You'll be notified when I post. For now, I'm Rod Hill saying thank you. I appreciate you.